Hello, good morning. So I'm Dia Nguyen. I lead responsible AI at Amazon Web Services. So part of that is focusing on the ways in which AI and technology is being used to ensure that it does not negatively affect people of color, but people of all demographics. So considering the ways in which the technology can actually benefit us and not harm us. And I get to do that, with a number of our customers, as well as now working in areas of policy. So helping to influence the technology in the way in which governments, entities are thinking about regulating it and making sure that they're considering our voice and our perspective. And I am excited to be here. Thank you to the organizers and to my friend Damu Winston, who helped to make me aware of this particular convening. I think this is a great topic for us to be thinking about, as well as the opportunity to be here with the Deputy Commissioner from the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And we get to have this conversation to talk about intellectual property, especially at a time where AI, blockchain, and emerging technologies are reshaping the way in which we live, work, think, the information we consume. And so it's important for us to be thinking about the ways in which these technologies can reflect us as well as benefit us and all of humanity. So I want to start off, Deputy Commissioner, for thanking you for joining us. And I want to take us back for a moment to 1790. That's when the first Patent Act was signed into law by George Washington. At that time, Black Americans were largely excluded from the patent system due to slavery and racial discrimination. Fast forward to today, we're discussing blockchain at a historically Black college and university. Could you walk us through how the U.S. Patent Office's mission has evolved since its inception, particularly as it relates to fostering diversity and innovation? And in this context, can you explain what blockchain and intellectual property mean for innovation today and why it's important for us to be having this topic as it relates to Black and Brown communities?
So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm always happy to come home.
See if your mic is it?
Can you hear me? All right. Always happy to come home. I am a very proud graduate of Howard University. Thank you very much. So being here and being part of especially a celebration such as this means a lot to me, not only as a grad of Howard University Engineering School, but also as a member of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, because you are the reason why we are in existence, to help support your ideas and get them to market. So it has been a long journey for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, an even longer journey for our Black citizens of this country. As you were mentioning, it's been a long journey, and George Washington was the first back in 1790. And patents have always been inspired by our people. But our names could not go on those patents. Back during the times of slavery, the owners were the ones who were given credit and thus money from our ideas. So today, we own our ideas, and we've had great panels discussion so far, and one of the things that was said was, the greatest of property ownership of land is the most important. I tell you, the most important and consequential property of all is your intellectual property. It's what comes from your mind. You own it. Therefore, you should have the credit for it, and you should have the money that goes with it. And no one can take that away from us. We can only take it from ourselves if we do not go through the proper channels in order to have our intellectual property rights. So I'm here to talk a little bit about that, and specifically in blockchain, in AI, It's an amazing journey, and it's come a very long way in a very short period of time. The USPTO participates with AI to help make our jobs easier. We have this just a massive search system where every patent that's ever come through the United States and many other countries is in that system to search. And we're now learning the uses of AI in order to better utilize it and get there quicker for our examiners to be able to search through more references that can be used to study and research the ideas that come through the patent office. But there are certain challenges that come with that as well that need to be really recognized and thought of as you are coming up with your own AI. And one of the things that's a huge challenge for us is the data sets used, right? So you have these amazing algorithms, but your algorithm is only as good as the data that goes in it. And bias and privacy are two very critical aspects of that. I don't know if you've all heard, but in the news there was a great deal of controversy around AI biases against Black people. Lack of transparency of data sets will get you there. Lack of diversity to get to the data sets and get to the AI are a huge problem. A lot of the work that I've been doing at the Patent Office over the last 5 years has to do with inclusive innovation and making sure that all are represented in the IP and innovation community, that we have, women have, other people of color, the disabled, have the opportunities to get the education, the opportunities to go forth and get the benefits and learn how to utilize our intellectual property. And one of the things is bias, right? Bias against us. Well, how do you start removing that? One, instead of having a group of the same people making decisions, be it in our government, in industry, or an algorithm, we have diversity of background, diversity of opinion, understanding all that needs to go into it and all the questions that need to be answered in order to get to the right algorithm and data sets. So those are some of the challenges, resource-wise. Policy-wise, it's still very, very beginning stages. You know, one thing, not only here in the United States, but globally, that was addressed was, can AI be an inventor on a patent? Clearly, no, has to be a human. That's really a simple answer. A lot of the more complex policies that need to be established are still in the works, not only here, but we do work, part of my job as deputy commissioner is working with other intellectual property offices around the world to harmonize policies and how do we go about it. So those questions are still being answered, and I would suggest anyone in that realm, if you have any ideas, you have any comments, to look on the uspto.gov of when we're going to have our next listening session on AI, because what we want to hear about is what are the questions from you? What needs to be addressed by you policy-wise, or what we need to address policy-wise by getting those questions from all of you.
I love that you mentioned that you all are actually thinking about, one, the ways in which you introduce AI and technology in order to simplify your processes, but also the things that we need to do in order to address some of the challenges, because there are certainly challenges with AI. But I wanted to also double click on something you mentioned, because you talked about inclusion. And I know that that there have been disparities for a while, right? And there was even a study that you all issued that talked about some of the disparities in patent rates among different demographics. Can you share some insights from your experience leading the Council for Inclusive Innovation? What strategies have you found the most promising in order to address some of these areas of gap and disparity?
So great question. Thank you very much. And yes, over the past 5 years, I've been leading our efforts to build a more inclusive IP and innovation community. And part of that was through a council we put together that represents all of the innovation community. So it's presidents of universities, and I'm very proud to say that the president of Howard University is part of that council, as well as CEOs across industry, 3M, General Motors and Oracle, and a slew of, as well as small business owners, as well as nonprofit organizations and professional organizations. And the reason I go into that level of detail is to let you know, just as I was speaking of, the council that has to put forth the solutions for building a more inclusive innovation has to be as diverse as the community we're trying to build. So it also represents women, people of color, Hispanic, veterans, disabled are all part of that council. So some of the things that we have put together in order to address that is, one, a national strategy of inclusive innovation, which I had my team working on for 4 years, and I'm really proud of. It's on our webpage under inclusive innovation, and it goes through what's necessary step by step to build a more inclusive innovation, starting with, at the level of K through 12, the education awareness of STEM, of entrepreneurship, of inventorship, and not only reaching out and teaching children, but also teaching the teachers and their parents and the local communities on how to address and how to teach our young people who are our future on how to use their ideas, put them on paper, and have a patent, a trademark, a copyright associated with it to build our communities, to build the individual, and ultimately build our nation. And a staggering statistic that everyone should know about is that based on studies being done, that if women and people of color, specifically Black citizens or people of the United States, were to properly be represented in the innovation and patent community, we would have $640 billion added to our nation's economy. The aggregate economic output of this country would be increased by $16 trillion. That's us. We can make or break this country if we pull together, get our education, get the opportunities together, and move forward. That's power.
So Deputy Commissioner, I love that, right? So the creativity, the innovation, the ability for us to be able to increase and impact economics. But I wonder, is there something being done to address the extreme cost that it takes in order to go through the patent or trademark process? Because it's extremely expensive, and it also takes a long time, on average 1 to 3 years. So when you think about, one, our communities not necessarily having the same level of resources, and then the time, that in some ways could be counterproductive for folks to engage. So are there things being done to actually invite communities in that don't have the same access and resource or even time horizon?
Yeah, that's
to be able
a
to
great
engage?
question, and yes, we are. One thing is that those who have never before filed a patent and are of a certain income level can file a petition with your patent application as you file it that allows you to jump the line. It's called first-time filer. So you submit that, there's no cost to it, and even if you have an attorney, if you fit those requirements, you can still get this petition that allows you to jump forward on an examiner's docket, because everything is done by filing date, right? So even if your filing date is lower, you jump to the head of the line to have that examiner review your application and get an office action, so which is the statement saying if If it can be allowed as a patent, it will be. If there are things that need to be addressed before that, tells you what that is. So that's a great way of getting newer people into the system to the market sooner, because the sooner you get your examination and you have those conversations, the sooner you get to grant, the sooner you can get to the market. Another thing that we do at the patent office is based on income, we categorize. So you can be a micro entity, which means you are of a certain income level, so it's the cost is drastically reduced, because we don't want independent small inventors or micro inventors to have to compete salary-wise or cost-wise with an IBM, a 3M. That's not equitable. So we lower our costs. And also, we have a great deal of free training on the patent examination process. And in fact, one thing that I'm really proud of that I helped to develop, it's called a STEP program. It's a program, it's 3 days, so it takes commitment. It's a really intense 3 days where we put on free training for the public who want to come in and learn the process, because not everyone can afford an attorney. You might have to file your application and process it yourself. We want to tell you everything that you would be facing, what the examiner is doing to help you through that process. And the last thing I want to mention is our pro bono programs. So those who have an amazing idea that needs to get to market and doesn't have the money for a very expensive legal process, around the country there are attorneys doing pro bono work, intellectual property attorneys, who you can submit to have them to represent you through the United States Patent and Trademark Office. That's one. A second part of that pro bono program is law schools that have established law clinics, IP law clinics, where there is a registered through the USPTO attorney working with the law school students that will be your representation and represent you through the patent process.
That's huge, because the cost and the time is typically a barrier to entry for many who are in underrepresented communities. I know we're short for time and we got to get you on a plane. So there are two questions that I want to end us with. One is, how can you leverage intellectual property to protect your ideas and your creations and grow your business? Because I know we've got folks in here that are creators, innovators, entrepreneurs, and so I want you to get to that. And then the last one that I'm going to end you on is, so we're at Howard University, a leader among our HBCUs that are looking at fostering innovation. So how do you see institutions like Howard and other HBCUs playing a role in diversifying the innovation ecosystem?
Great questions. I wish we had more time. So first, you have to look at your intellectual property rights as a whole. The side that I spend most of my time with is on the patent side. Well, there are 3 different types of patents: design patents, utility patents, and plant patents. Depending on what your idea is, you may be able to gain a patent on 1 or all 3 of those independently. There's copyright protection. There's trademark protection. You can get, there's also other aspects of intellectual property that aren't necessarily what you need to file with us or the Copyright Office with trade secrets. So trade secrets is something completely different about how, just like a Coca-Cola, capturing and making sure that your idea is always kept to you and never shared in the public. All the others, you are putting this out in the public, and you will gain from the government the right to be the only person who can use it for a certain period of years. So I go through all of those to say, don't ever think you have to pick just one. It is leveraging all intellectual property in order to protect your rights and be able to market, commercialize, and profit from them. One of the things you can do is go on to uspto.gov, where you can put your idea in, no one else will see it, and it will spout out for you what types of intellectual property you will probably be able to leverage with your idea. So it's a huge place to start when you're asking, okay, what do I need to do to be able to control and secure my idea? Howard University, so many ways it serves our community. And a big way they could serve our community is doing things like this, the blockchain conference, which I love. I always learn so much here. What more I would like to see from Howard, and I've actually started speaking to some of the professors here, is if you're going beyond intellectual property to innovation, right? So innovation is you're the entrepreneur, you're using your idea to start your business. Well, what are the things you need to do in order to do that? You need to have your intellectual property, so your legal aspects of it. You need to have the business of intellectual property innovation, and if it is emerging technology, the engineering and science aspects of it. So having those three departments working together collectively to give that holistic innovation protection point of view, I would love to see here.
Well, why don't you all join me in thanking our Deputy Commissioner for being here. I appreciate the time and opportunity to be able to meet you, as well as for us to tap into. And I hope everybody took note of the things that she said, because again, there are such huge barriers to entry oftentimes with being able to have copyright protections, protecting your intellectual property. And this becomes even more important to us as we think about the ways in which AI, large language models, et cetera, is taking information, replicating that. So the ways in which you can protect what you have created is essential, and it's really great to hear that we have folks like Deputy Commissioner there driving some of the change to see more innovation and opportunity for diverse populations to be innovators. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.